Marc Antony, by being in Egypt all the time, he wants to make Egypt the new capital. And that's going to mean having these, all this Eastern decadence as opposed to us manly man Romans. So a new civil war breaks out. And again, this time around, Octavian, who's very good at choosing his subordinates, wins the war. The big battle is at Actium. It's a naval battle off the coast of Greece. And basically, Marc Antony deserts his fleet. He heads back to Egypt. Octavian pursues. And both Cleopatra and Marc Antony kill themselves. And that ends that. Okay. So now Octavian is now sole ruler of the Roman world. Okay, and so what he does is basically, now that he's got the army behind him, and nobody can really oppose him, and nobody wants to fight anyway because everybody's burned out. What he does is very clever. He wants to be the sole ruler, but he doesn't want to make it seem as if he's overthrowing the Republic. So he makes himself Pontifex Maximus, and so he controls, all that. And he makes himself the first citizen, or princeps, or princeps, okay? Which basically meant he could be the first person to speak in the Senate. So even though it doesn't have any real power, he gets up there and says, well, I think we should do this. And all the other senators, what are they going to say? Well, we disagree with you because, no, that ain't going to work. And so he's able to set the policies. He divides power with the Senate, so they get control of half the provinces of the empire. He controls the other half. Rather conveniently, he controls all the provinces that have all the legions. The senators don't have any real serious army behind them, so there's no challenge there. Okay, he also changes the army basically into a professional force. You sign up, you spend 20 years under the standards, then you retire and you get a grant of land, and so this is a way to turn all these people into sort of military colonists in the long term. Also, if you're not a citizen, you can join the auxiliaries, and at the end of 20 years of service, you get Roman citizenship with all the benefits that provides. He also gets rid of a lot of extraneous units, so you didn't have all these independent militaries running around. He also rationalizes the borders by moving up to the Danube and essentially establishing client states to fill out a lot of these gaps. And see, this map shows where all the legions are stationed. So you have a more geographically cohesive empire. He attempts to get people to move out of the cities and into the countryside. He has great poets like Virgil doing these homilies to rural life, but it doesn't work very well. People don't want to move out of the cities where all the excitement is and the free grain is, to go out and work on a farm or as a herdsman. Give up the bright lights. Once you've seen Paris, Oh, by the way, Paris was around at the time. It was called Campus Lutetia. He also tried to expand the population base by taxing people who didn't have children, but it didn't work. People just paid the tax. Okay. He also has himself declared imperator, which means commander of the army, essentially, at this point. And so that's where we get the word emperor. Okay, the one thing he never really resolves, and this is the foundation for the Roman Empire, by the way, is the succession. What do you do when you die? Well, there are various systems that were tried over the next several centuries. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, but often it led to civil war. Okay, so what does this all mean for today? Most important thing is you can't go back to the good old days. Okay, social conditions, economic conditions change so much that you cannot restore the old days. And of course, what nobody bothers to answer is why, if the good old days are so good, they prevented everything from going down the drain. Okay. Second thing is, you got to have clients and you got to have patrons. Now, I think Donald Trump learned this, which is one of the reasons he's aligned with people like Elon Musk. And apparently he's trying to get the support of various constitutional sheriffs. I may be wrong on that count. But you've got to have this huge client base. Okay. At the same time, you've got to support your clients. Okay. If they go to jail, it means you bail them out. Now, the left is very good at doing this. The right in this country, not so much. You've got to maintain your middle class. Without a middle class, there's no republic, because you don't have that solid core of people who want to fight for the system and who are independent enough where they can't just simply bought off by an extra dole of grain. And finally, you've got to play the long game. If Rome was not built in a day, the republic did not fall in a day. So you've got to stop thinking in terms of, oh, if we don't win this next election, it's all over. It may be you have a century ahead of us. Okay. So at this point, are there any questions?